Hello everyone, welcome back to On the Fly. Today we're taking a look at the team that's going to be representing Finland at the 2024 World Junior Championships. So with that being said, before we get too far into it, big thank you to Ibby7823 for recommending this video. If you want to see a video topic being covered, be sure to leave it in the comments down below. But with that being said, let's hop right into it today. Finland, a team that's obviously one of the better teams we normally see at the tournament. They have their ups and downs. They're almost relegated back in 2017, but they have definitely an ability to have a really good tournament followed by a really bad tournament, and they like to say they go up and down a lot. But with that being said, this team this year, they look pretty good. They're not necessarily going to be their top team. They are missing Joachim Kemmel, who is playing with in the AHL right now, so he's not going to be a part of the team. And for good reason. He's doing quite well. He'll probably be in the NHL fairly soon. So, that being said, no Kemmel for the Team Finland this year. But one of the things that they can really take a look at is their depth right now. They have some pretty good options. Helenius is one of the players I'm looking at to really sort of take the next step. He's in his draft year. He's trying to prove himself. This is the tournament to do so. I expect him to do quite well at this tournament. I think just sort of how we've seen from previous years, how the Finns play, especially with their draft-eligible prospects, they tend to do really well at this tournament. And then obviously the guys that are drafted are also going to be quite a good help for them. And we'll get to the roster a little bit later, but let's take a look at the history of this event. Starting back in 2020, in the prelims, 2-0-1-1, finishing with a rank of 4th place. In 2021, they finished the preliminary round at 3-0-0-1, which placed them 3rd overall in terms of the playoffs. Then in 2022, 2-1-0-1 in the preliminary round, finishing 2nd overall. And then last year, 2023, 2-0-1-1 in the preliminary, and then finishing in 5th place overall. So that being said, obviously they've had their ups and downs. The last time, they've sort of got screwed out of a position spot. But they are a team that has the ability, especially as underdogs, to make a really good mark in this tournament. I expect them to continue to sort of do that. They are a team that is, to quote it, opportunistic at times. And I think when you look at what they are and sort of what they're looking at, they're a very defensive-minded team. You can see that sort of in the structure of how their team was made. They have the ability to score goals. That is not in doubt. But they are definitely made to be a defensive team, a bigger team, sort of that Finnish style of hockey that we're used to seeing, where, they're going to play a very structured game. You've seen it a lot this year, especially in the NHL, where teams stick to the structure. See it with the Bruins a lot. Not necessarily the most skilled of teams, but when they stick to the structure, they are really able to make a really impact on, especially you look at some of the teams that they're going to be playing with the U.S., who by far the U.S. is the most skilled team in this tournament. Canada as well, probably the 2nd most skilled team. You're not going to be able to compete mano-a-mano with these teams in terms of skill because, to be honest, there's just not enough skill in the country to be able to do so. But where they really can make their mark is in their tactical side, and that's where Finland has and will always be competitively better. Just because of the way that they don't have necessarily your star players. They have some good players, not saying that, but they're star players, who want to be the divas, who want to be the players that are going to be, I'm the best, I'm going to do it my way or the highway. That's how it's going to be. So that's where Finland really has. They have a team buy-in. They have that ability to say, okay, this is how we're going to structure it. This is what we're going to do. And they've been really successful with that, especially in previous years. So that being said, let's take a look at the players who are going to be representing Finland this year. We have Rasmus Kempulainen, Konsta Helenius, Oiva Keskinen, Samu Bao, Kasper Holtinen, Aleksantirdi Kaskimäki, Max Koskapurdi, Jirlen Silla, Lenny Hemihanno, Emil Hemming, Jani Nyman, Tommy Manisto, Jan Nakarainen, the defenseman Otto Salin, Ardu Karki, Kasper Kalinami, Emil Pieniniemi, Joona Väsäinen, Kalle Kangas, Jesse Pulkkinen, the goalies Emil Vinny, Nicholas Koko, and Vali Noah. So with that being said, quite a few returning players for Finland in this World Juniors from last year. And one of the players I really want to draw attention to is the goalie Nicholas Koko. So he's one of those players who he didn't see a lot of ice time in the last tournament. He's the goalie, but this year he's going to have a really, really big role for Finland, and I think if Finland is going to do quite well in this tournament, he is going to be the make or break of this team. Obviously, goalies in general are going to be the make or break, but I think just sort of looking at the depth of what else Finland has, Kokko has to be excellent in order for Finland to really make an impact at this tournament. They're in a tough group. We made a video on Team Canada previewing it. It's still a tough group. They're in that Canada group. They got Canada, they got Sweden, they got Germany, and then Latvia. So not necessarily going to be trouble getting out of the division. I think they'll be able to get out of the division nicely into the playoffs, but it's about seeding, because you look at the other group, you want to make sure you're not that last place having to play the U.S. in the quarterfinals, because if you get stuck in the quarterfinals, you're kind of screwed in that sense. But with that being said, I do think that they'll be able to beat Germany. So I think they'll, in Latvia, the two teams for sure, that they should be able to roll over. And then Sweden and Canada are the toss-ups. Normally that's how it works. You have your top three there with Canada, Sweden, Finland. But we'll have a full World Junior preview coming up a little bit later. But when we take a look at the schedule, here we go. Canada is going to play December 26th, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. December 27th, they will play Germany at 8:30. December 29th, they will play Latvia at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Sweden, they'll play on December 31st at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then, this is where it gets interesting with the quarterfinals. Lots of different seeds they can play. January 2nd will be the quarterfinal days. Relegation, January 4th at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This year, it is important to note, 1 game knockout, so win or go home. And then semifinals on January 4th as well, 2 time slots for that one. January 5th will be the bronze medal game at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and January 5th will be the gold medal game at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So with that being said, a lot of games for Finland to make their mark. They have to definitely win one of the 2 Germany-Latvia games if they want to have a shot at the quarterfinals. I don't think relegation will be a problem for them this year. It has been in years past, but I think this year, just looking at who they have on their team, that'll be more than enough. So take a look here at the lines and sort of what they're going to be previewing here at this tournament. So when we look at it, first line, I got Hamihando, Helenius, and Nyman. I think this line sort of makes sense. You know, that's going to be your goal scoring line. That's going to be the guys you're going to look for, especially when just sort of how the team is structured. You need a line that's going to score goals, especially when, as you can sort of see along the side here, that the issue with this team is that they're not necessarily the most offensive minded. They're a defensive structured team. They're going to play a structured style of game, and their whole goal is to keep the puck out of the net and capitalize on mistakes made by whoever they're playing, whether that be Canada, whether that be the US, whether that be Sweden, whether that be any team with a lot of skill. And at the same time, their structured game will always roll over some of the weaker teams just because they just make a lot more mistakes than, say, a Canada or a US or a Sweden would. So with that being said, this team still needs that offensive firepower where they can throw that line out against, you know, say it's a third line or a fourth line of a really, really good team and be able to score goals without their style of play. But with that being said, that's where I think the first line is. Kaskamaki, Keskinen, Haltunen will be the second line. Koskapurdi, Lasilla, and Hemming will be the third line. Nakarainen, Kempilainen, and Bow will be the fourth line. I think this fourth line is going to be really, really crucial for Finland. This is their shutdown pair. You'll see a lot of them, especially when we look at sort of, you know, late in the game where they're up 1, they're up 2 goals. This is the line you're going to see a lot of. Bow is probably one of my favorite players at this tournament. He is not necessarily your most skilled players, but he is one of the best defensive players I think we'll see at this tournament. He's really, really focused on his own end. Kumpulainen as well, as well as Nakarainen. Those 3 players together will make a lethal defensive unit. And I think when we look at how Finland is going to play this tournament out, that is where we're going to be looking for. A really, really good defensive line, I think, is where that fourth line is going to come in. The extra is Manisto. I just don't really see him fitting in the lineup that much. I think he could sort of take over that third line winger role, but I don't know if that makes a ton of sense for him. I think he'll be the extra in this tournament. It's important to note they are allowed to carry 13 forwards. And then the defensive pairings, Karki and Kulanemi, that is your shutdown first line defensive pairing, and I think also they provide quite a bit of offense. The 2 of them will fit really well together. Karki is definitely one of your more offensive defensemen. I think he'll do really well at this tournament as well. Second line, Polkinen and Selin, I don't think they'll be anything too special. They'll be obviously your general defensive pairing, nothing to really write home about. Pienenemi and Väisänen, both those players. third defensive line. Once again, nothing too special. They're good. They're not necessarily going to blow your socks off. And then Kangas will be sort of your extra D. He'll fit in. They'll all play. In my opinion, they'll all sort of play. They all buy into the structure. So at the end of the day, it's okay for Finland to use all 7D. And then lastly, for the goalies, sort of mentioned off the top, Kokko will be your starting goaltender without a doubt. He is by far Finland's best goaltender at this tournament. Vinny and Valley, I think, will be sort of the two players that could go, or the two goalies that could flip back and forth in terms of the backup role. But Kokko has to be their best player at this tournament for Finland to do very well. But with that being said, if you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. If you'd like to drop a like, if you'd like to consider subscribing, tell all your friends and comment down below your thoughts on Team Finland. Until next time, see ya.